Welcome to the Old World Fanatics, your Warhammer Fantasy podcast to quench your hobby thirst for all things the old world. I'm one of your hosts, Gomo. I'm back as usual with Andrew and Josh, and a very special guest coming back after episode 6. Ben Halliday is on Old World Fanatics, mate. How are you this evening?
Oh, really happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you. We got you on chat about a tournament that Andrew and I are going to next week, which is Bel Con2 in Canberra. So, yeah, who better to talk to about than, I guess, the TO. So it's always good to have a new face on.
Just impressed impressed something is from the north is coming down, I think, in this sort of weather we're having at the moment.
Yeah, well, because you shouldn't have told me that. Yeah, it's probably bloody, what is it, under zero?
Oh, I think we might hit -3 tonight, mate.
Oh, wow, that's colder than Melbourne.
For our,
that's saying something.
I guess for the international listeners, they might not actually understand that the Canberra region probably gives a bit of Europe a run for its money in winter.
I'm regretting getting the 2-bedroom apartment, Andrew. We should have got the bed. Just a single.
Yeah. It's all right. We can still cuddle in.
You got to survive.
Awesome. Yeah, that's right. I think it was. I mean, I was chasing a tournament because I just haven't played any Old World really, and I've been out and all about so much, so I've missed everyone that's been on around here. And so that was like the first one I could find where it was at least an okay drive away, like a 6-hour drive, 5-hour drive, something like that. So it's not too bad. Andrew's done a Sydney one, but I just haven't been able to find any. That when I'm available. So so come down and give you guys some support, I guess. It should be good.
Yeah, it'd be good.
6 hours is still a decent drive, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
So it's an okay drive. It's still.
Andrew and I met up today. We'll probably do some audio podcasting on the way or something. We'll come up with something.
Yeah.
So, live stream some journey down the Hume Highway.
Yeah. You can tell us about the tolls.
Yeah. It's like $28 just to get out of Sydney, I think.
Shocking.
Through it. Actually, don't get me on that. I thought I got hacked the other day because I was looking at my credit card statement, how many RMS tolls it was going through because I've been to Sydney a bit. Anyway, that is a long way. I'm the rambler here, so let us kick this off. We're going to chat to Ben about Bel Con2. That'll be our first main thing after hobby, and then we are, time permitting. Ben may stay around depending on how late we go. We'll just smash it into the combat phase for our hits, misses, and favourites section. So a little bit of old world content at the back there as well. But outside of that, I'm just going to kick into our normal shout-outs because we like to do that every week for our patrons. Just quick shout out basically before we start. These awesome people help us deliver Old World Fanatics each and every week, and it's just for $2 a month. They're just helping us pay for the cost of recording and some of the other software we use around YouTube and things like that. So big shout out to them. They get the privilege of me going down and rambling through their names and mispronouncing them. So, and I think Ben's one of our patrons, so thank you.
Yeah.
So I'll just run through up to.
I figured I'd better fork out some cash.
Yeah, that's all very much appreciated, mate. So our latest was Akeel Hurd, David Lancaster, Tom, Matthew Klein, Thumper, which is Ben, Matt Morris, Thumper. Thomas Vavasow, Greff, Jess Tors, Wood Duck, Josh Griffiths, Ninanawam, Daniel Broadstock, Jonathan Wengler, Elliot Mitchum, Chris Turnbull, Gilthos Draconos, Julian Diesel, Cameron Atkinson, Richard, William Payne, Robert, Velvet Hammer is our resident change the name every week. I don't know what that picture is, Josh. Do you know what that is? Some weird suited person.
Oh, it looks like just a hammer. It's a hammerhead.
Is it? Oh, it's a hammer in a suit. Andrew McAllister, Bobby Gherkin, Gumwit, Sean Ritchie, Todd Lloyd, and Chapstick. So a big thank you to our 30 Patreons helping us turn up every Monday, even though we still would anyway. And look, you don't have to join, but if you do, just on patreon.com, Old World Fanatics. Otherwise, jump on YouTube if you're listening to it here and hit like, subscribe. We really appreciate that and helps us reach as many people as possible. So outside of all the, actually, there is news this week, sort of, for Old World. Not really, but a little bit. I put a screenshot of Warhammer. Was it Warhammer community Facebook group saying lots of you ask where the dwarves are. Well, we think that we'll see our old friends return to the old world shortly. So
Yeah.
pretty
We're really
nasty
scraping the bottom of
pun.
the barrel when that comes news, right?
So
Like,
vague.
When's the next financial quarter start?
Yeah.
For them it's June,
Yeah.
isn't it? In May. So
Yeah.
who knows? Yeah. It doesn't really answer anything, but I thought it was worth
No, it
putting in
doesn't.
there. And the amount of comments are
really-
quite funny. There's a lot of
That's
people just going,
good.
"That's going right in the book." You know, you do not call us short. You know, well, you got to get on there, Andrew. You're our resident dwarf player. Yeah, I don't know. Ben, have you been keeping up with the releases of Old World or just?
You can't. But you can't but sort of keep an eye on it if you're putting events on. So I've done a couple now. To keeping an eye on it. I was saying to someone the other day that toe, as I like calling it, it's kind of like watching a relay with 4 people where one person's run really quick and then the other 3, like maybe the 2 sort of started walking and the third one may have been shot. It's just so lopsided. So on the one hand, we've got, or it could just be a car that just can't, goes for a little bit and then it just breaks down, and it might come back good again. I don't know. And that's kind of the scene at the moment. I think we can probably talk about it a bit later, but there's a lot of enthusiasm, which is fantastic, which bodes well for it to go on for a while. But we do have these frustrations with the business model and whatever's going on with the financials in GW, and a lot of missed opportunities on their part to keep this going. But I guess we should probably sort of view it as opportunities for gamers to try to provide. I guess that's where the antagonism is between hardcore people who want to do hardcore tournaments versus people who want to take it slow, and then you throw in the mix people can't access the models that they want. So
it's
a bit of a mess,
isn't it? That's like it's a frustrating thing, and like it's almost like if they're open with it, that I guess they've been open with it a little bit, that it's a long term thing and stuff, but. If we knew it was more of, hey, this is, we don't expect you to go out and buy all this stuff. We're just trying to get it out, like for the next 2 years and help us develop it. Like we'd all be a bit more forgiving, but it's the release as a normal game and nothing's out there.
Expectation management,
It's like, it's bizarre. But you're right, like missed opportunity. The amount of money that is now going to 3D printers, for example, because nothing's available. It's
eBay's.
Anyway. Anyway, I thought I did mention that because there's a chance we might see something in the next few weeks, but I have no idea when that's going to get rammed, like taken out because of iOS, and so I don't know. Like, I know nothing. But anyway, cool. We're going to skip. Yeah, you're right. You go, mate.
I was just going to say we should all just be patient. We waited a couple of years for this new game, so we can wait. We'll be all right.
It's June. What is it? 6 months old? It's definitely not 6 months old in Australia, is it? When did we get it?
Not in Australia yet, no.
Yeah.
No. Maybe we got it Feb. So like,
I think February.
It was early February. I think it was
in
Australia.
So realistically, it's not that bad. It's just it's probably worse because everyone does have full rules almost, but then they can't play at all. Whereas if this was a 9th edition, everything still was in the shop. It wouldn't be a problem. Everyone's just playing Index Hammer. It's not that bad, but because nothing's available, it's just weird. Anyway, we'll make do. Events are happening, and that's all cool. So we'll talk about it in a minute. Let's just smash through any hobby time if anyone's got anything to bring up of interest. I think Josh had a little bit, maybe.
Oh, not really. I had a little bit, like not much at all, really. But all I did really this week was try to finish my friggin' arches, which I've been doing bits of once, a little bit here in the last few weeks. I thought I'd be done them long ago, but here we are.
That's the same guys you had in the 10 skirmish tray. Is that those ones? Those arches?
Yeah, those arches, yeah. I'm hoping to get all of my dirt out and throw some basing on them tomorrow. That'll make me feel a bit better. But I mean, they're pretty much done to tabletop standard now, but they just look a bit.
They're not Josh standard.
You look up close. They're not display standard yet. But yeah, that's pretty much all I did. My whole.
good.
Unless he was recovering from the gastro from last week.
Yeah, it's just everyone's been going through that. I've just been printing, as you would expect. I'm actually literally printing something for Ben right now, actually, out on the printer. It's going to take all
Legend.
night. So, yeah, nuts. What is it, a Cyrox? Is that what that's called? I mean, it's basically going to be, what are you going to play it as? The Cyclops thing or the Cygor. What's the other one? The Gore. I was just asking Andrew about this. We just did the Beastman book. The Gorgon. Could you play it as either, or are you doing it as the Yeah, it looks pretty cool. So hopefully,
So the Cygors are really hard to get at the moment in Australia. So
right,
you're a lifesaver there. Cool.
No, that's cool. I'll give it a go, and I'll take a picture of it tomorrow if it turns out okay. If not, I'll try and fix it. But it should be right. I haven't had too many bad prints. I mean, I'll just say, I'll tell you a story though, guys. It was quite funny. I went away on Saturday night for my birthday, and so I started a print, and I was just talking to Josh about this before we hit record, that I was reading. It's like, yep, you can leave stuff on the build plate. You can leave it there for days, even a month. As long as it's got no UV, it's fine. And so I went, oh, cool. So I started a print must have been 10 in the morning. That was going to take about 8 hours or something. And then I came, went up the valley, Hunter Valley on Saturday, stayed overnight, came home, got home by about 9 in the morning, 10, something like that, and went out and I was all excited because I was like, I was going to print all these Bretonians off for my friend, and I loaded the build plate up as much as I could with all these knights, and I go out there and the build plate's up and there's nothing on it, and the vat, there's nothing in the vat, and there was no splashes, and I was like, did I start the thing? What the hell? But it had the finished print on it. It had 7 hours, 53 minutes or something. I was like, where the hell is my print gone? It was totally just disappeared. Anyway, I ended up pouring the vat out and then found that there's probably I don't know, probably 6 layers on the actual FEP stuck on there. So obviously it didn't stick at all. Josh, you said, it didn't even stick to the build plates. I was just sitting there trying to UV nothing.
That's right.
For 6 hours.
Very exposed sheet of resin.
Yeah.
What have you listened to that piece of resin?
Yeah, it was actually quite hard to get. I've had to just soak it a bit in alcohol and stuff, and then you know how you can push the bottom of the FEP a bit and it pops it off a bit.
Yeah, that's all I do. You have to be careful of putting too much alcohol in the you don't want to get it into the vat too much, if you get alcohol in the resin itself, so as long as you let it evaporate, it's okay.
Cleaned it all out.
But,
yeah.
If you contaminate the resin with it,
it's not going to then set at all.
Not ideal.
Yeah,
it can just affect it. Yeah,
that's cool. It was my first learning. I'm not totally sure what caused that, but in any case, it hasn't done that since, so that was quite funny. But I did reprint them; they came out fine. Which is I'm just doing some Bretts for my mate.
It's those ones. Yeah.
Yes. Sorry, it's not a great picture because they're just laying on the ground, but they all came out. And then
are they Highland? Sorry.
Yeah, they're Highlands. Yeah. Galia. Is it Galia? Galia. I don't know how you say it.
I've never heard anyone say it. I only read it. Galia. I say in my head, which is probably wrong.
Smashed out some Highland iron drakes, so that'll be cool.
Nice.
Have you gone at 95 now for those? Or those
93. I've settled down to 93. I did it. Yeah, I did an 87, 93 at something else, and I went, I think I like the 93. It was pretty close to the size of the newer dwarves, I thought. You could be anywhere in that range, but yeah. But it's funny, the 87 guy that I did as a test was still too big compared to my old Ironbreakers, like the old 3rd edition Ironbreakers. They're so little.
Yeah, they would be.
Yeah. Sorry, this is not me. This is my actual hobby that I need to get done by Bel Con. So I'll probably take 2 caskets. So 2nd casket with the lid off. Let's see the lid.
Nice.
So I think I'm going to put the crypt. What's it called, Andrew, from the vampires? The ghoul, the screaming ghost dudes that they brought out in 8th.
Oh, the Banshees?
Edition. No, those plastic ghosts, spirit hosts.
The spirit hosts. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going to put one of them coming out of the dude's mouth and then have
awesome.
the lid coming off or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'll try to do that this week. And Fanatics, 9 Fanatics from Highlanders. They came out
They
cool.
look good. Yeah,
So I've just been on a printing.
You're only allowed 9, Gummo.
Yeah, that's why I printed 9. But actually, another story. See, I do ramble, but people might enjoy this as 3D printing. My 3D printing experience. I printed, and this could have been the beginning of what happened on Saturday. I printed 9 Fanatics on Friday, and some other stuff on the build plate. I can't remember what I printed. But anyway, I did it all, cleaned everything up, and I was like, oh, there's only 8 Fanatics. And I was like looking everywhere. Do I drop it? Like looking everywhere. Open up the splicer again. Yep, there's 9 Fanatics on there. I've only got 8. So there's a missing Fanatic. And I'm wondering if could the same thing have happened just with only one of the figures? You know what I mean? Like it didn't grab or something on the build plate and it just never got created. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, totally likely. Did you actually check that or the film after you did
Not
that?
after that, because I didn't even realize. I thought I dropped it or something. I don't know. I threw it in the bin. I thought. But then it wasn't until Saturday that the whole thing failed. And then I went,
okay,
oh,
that's
I
why it
wonder
failed.
if-
Yeah, that
I wonder if
directly caused it,
something
because you would have had
happened.
a thin layer of resin in the bottom against the film, which meant that your build plate couldn't go right up against the film for the first couple of
And so
days,
the
and that's why the
next one died.
entire thing failed.
Failed, yeah. So,
So
it was
that's-
probably that.
That's also a bit scary because that's how you damage the film, because the build plate's been pressed up against the film with a bit of resin in the middle, and that's how sometimes you'll
You
get
can
some
pop-
damage or a tear and pop
Yeah.
it.
Now
So you've got to be
having
careful
said
about
that, it's supposed to not do. It's supposed to warn itself if it does with that. But I guess I don't want to test
Yeah, I
it
know.
too much. I mean,
How reliable that is.
Yeah. And then just today did the Gore. What's it called?
Nice.
The Gore Chariot at 93. So it's a little bit. I think the other one I did, which was a Tuscarora Chariot, was a bit too big. Because what I did is I built one of the Shamans from the Vanguard box just to sort of compare. And it's, I mean, that's about, you can't see it there, but they're about the same size when you put them next to them. So I thought that was a better.
50 by 100, or is that the 60?
That's a Games Workshop 47 by 100. They are like,
47.
you know, the Games Workshop bases are so off.
Yeah.
So it's still at 93. It's still hanging over the Games Workshop 50 by 100. Which is annoying, but I mean, is what it is. Yeah, but they're coming out pretty good, and then obviously I'll see what Ben's one comes out like. I was hoping to have it done by today, but if those Bretonians didn't die, I probably would have been ahead of my printing schedule. But that's okay.
That is awesome. You just got, you're just in the. It's a whole new world to you, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, I just print
cracking
stuff.
out
Just
so
print
much stuff.
Yeah,
It's
I don't
awesome.
even need it. You know, it's like I'm not even going to touch this stuff. But you got to learn. I just want to get my system down and understand what works, what doesn't.
It's not like you didn't already have a massive pile of stuff to paint.
No, totally.
Just adding to this mountain.
Plus, you know, I'm printing stuff for other people now, so because you just like, I want to print something. Anyone need anything?
I'm trying to work out if Gummo is actually encouraging people to actually take it up, or just giving us lots of like little pointers as to why it's, you know, get someone else to do it, man. Like,
yeah, find the friend who's got the printer. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're getting lots of tips on the last episode and this one, so that's good to see. You know.
Yeah, it's been pretty. It's easier than I thought, but I guess I got a good printer for that because it's got a lot of those beginner things. So we'll see.
Yeah.
See how it goes. Anyone else do anything? Or Andrew's selling houses, or buying houses. He's probably busy.
Selling and buying houses. Yeah.
Well, good luck with that.
On it.
Yeah. I've been doing. I've got there's a new game store that's not far from where I live, and we're running a little introduction, learn to play the old world at a game store. So that's coming up. So I'm doing that on the Friday night before BelCon. So part of that's giving me some motivation is just to finish up my Beastman project. So I've just got a couple little things to finish doing, and I'm going to have to throw some of my Bretts and maybe some Woodies on some on some base afters. And I've been painting different tokens for, like, you know, charge and flee and disordered. The idea is to sort of run two complete sort of 500 point. You know, they only got small tables at this joint, like they're 4x4s, and the idea is we'll have some people who've never played before turn up, but really just sort of get them to throw some dice and give it a go and see how we go. But I think interesting. Looks like from what I'm looking at, we'll probably have just as many of them people who are coming to BelCon might just want to come down and say hello and stuff. But we're pretty keen to see how this one learn to play thing goes, and then hoping because it's a new experience with this store. If it goes well, hopefully we'll be able to put on a lot more sort of casual events into the future. So they've opened it up for doing monthly tabletops. So that's cool. That's pretty exciting. That's
Yeah,
fun.
that's Ronin, isn't it? Ronin Games, is it?
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
Ronin Games. So they've got a store in Bel Con, which is in the northwest of Canberra. But their original store's in Woden, which is in the south. We don't talk to the people in the south, but, they're there.
Yeah.
I think me and Andrew were thinking about popping in, but I guess it depends when we get down there, I guess. So
Yeah.
we'll see how we go.
Oh, well, most welcome to come and join, fellas. But
mm.
if you want to hang out and have a chat, but you might be a bit wrecked and in need of a good feed. Plenty of places around there.
Yeah, cool. No, that's good. Is it close to where everything is? That close to the actual Canberra? Where's the actual? Oh, Raiders Bel Con, isn't it? It's
Raiders Bel Con, yeah. So
sort of
where we
close.
are on Friday nights at the Westfield Shopping Mall in Bel Con, which is Canberra's made up of about 5 town centres. So Bel Con's one of the town centres, one of the older ones. Where we're playing Bel Con2 at the Raiders Club in Holt. I think it's Holt. It's on my head. Is in the western suburbs of Canberra. So it's in West Belconnen, West Belco, as locals would call it. I guess with the event, it's been put on by Canberra Northside Wargamers, which is a pretty loose group of awesome people who got together mainly around COVID to sort of start organising their social games of wargaming, and it sort of turned into a bit more of a regular club. We've gotten so successful, that little grouping, that they're looking at probably moving to Jolt Games when they have an expanded space into the new year, which is Jolt Games is a well-established game store in the ACT, but we're just spoiled for choice at the moment. Now they've got Ronin Games setting up Bel Con. There's what do they call? I'm just trying to remember the name. Oh yeah, Smallwell's Cafe, which is out in the south of Canberra, and you've got Jolt, obviously, which is in Mitchell. But then you've got, we've got the Canberra Game Society regularly have events, and Northside we put on a thing called BelCon at least 3 times a year. So hence the name. Bel Con2 is the second one we've had. It's when we put on a 2-day sort of events. Do you want a little bit more intro into that?
Yeah, well, it's a good way to. We could just just go into the topic, really, because I mean, that's what your hobby was. I think it's a great segue
into that.
Because I mean, I think it was going to be one of the first questions just to sort of lead in was why, what's it like around Canberra and just the whole sort of gaming scene in terms of where BelCon sits. So go for it.
Yeah. So look, we've got plenty of gaming going on in the ACT and in the region, so that's really exciting for us. Just with the BelCon sort of event, we put them on every sort of quarter. We have at least over 50 players, and it's a bit of a competition between systems. Like someone will say, okay, I want to run this game system, and we have a little, we might go, someone might say, oh, look, I only need 6, I only need enough for 6 players. And so anyway, we end up with over 50 odd come along to it. We always have more, but it's more about the tabletop, really. So a bit like a miniature version of CanCon, in the sense that you put a bid in for how many tables you want, and depending on your demand determines how many tables you're going to get. So at the moment, it's looking good for the old world at Bel Con2, because we're looking at probably going to hit the 20 easy. From what I can work out from my last communication with some people. We might get a few more, but we'll probably be nearly half the event. We have it at this. It's a club, football club. So Raiders Bel Con, which is part of the Raiders club. So it's the idea of the event. The BelCons are, I guess, it's friendly competitive, and we can probably talk a little bit more about what that kind of means. But my take on it, when you organise an event like this, it's about being clear about what the expectations are, about how we expect people to behave. And I guess with this one, we're trying to be open about the fact that, look, people will be taking hard. We expect people who want to go to try hard lists, but people also have to keep in mind that there are going to be people who haven't had very many games. There may be people that haven't, barely had any. They're going to turn up. You've also got different styles of play. As you guys would know, playing 6th edition, the community is, I think there's a different attitude for some of the older continuity fantasy players versus some of the newer ones that have Johnny come latelys. God love them. But that's a tension that's always been there between your uber competitive types versus your bit more casual sort of stuff. I guess it's sure a shout out. We've also had quite a few narrative events going on in the Canberra region as well. I'm just trying to remember his name. I'm just having a mental block actually. But yeah, hold on, I'll find it. Andrew Hollis does some great, really successful narrative events that have happened in the ACT. So over like 20 odds and running a series of it. So we're just, really sport. But we're Bel Con2, just to get back on topic with that. So we've got 20 odd and it'll be fun. So we're going I guess it's 2,000 points, which has got a lot of interest. I'd like to go to 5 games for the 2 days, but I mean, the reality is the main core of guys that have regularly come along to the events that I've been putting on are very much a vintage bit like myself, where they're like, look, I really don't want to have a stressful day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I actually appreciate it too. I like the 4. I haven't had a 4 gamer, but it's going to be good. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, you've got to prepare yourself for for a 5-day, 5 games, 3 days, 3 games in one day. Particularly as I'm sure you've found this game is what do they call it? The young ones call it crunchy. I mean, it's a hard game. Let's face it, it's not it's a difficult game. Like, you can get new players to sort of experience the very basics of it, but when you get into the minutiae of it, it's quite complicated and can be quite frustrating. So, and your head will hurt. If you've done 3 games with no real breaks between. So, a lot of the old boys were like, "Look, can we just do 1 in the morning and we'll have lunch and have a beer, and then we can go back and have 1 in the afternoon." So, hence 2 games each day, and then we'll try to time it. So we do have some really happy to have you boys come down from Newcastle for the game, but I think we've got a couple of other people from interstate also coming along. I mean, that is one of the things that we're lucky where we are in the ACT. We've got quite a few people who regionally come over to the games, particularly in Sydney. A lot of the Western Sydney types, randomly all turn up to events in Canberra just because Sydney's so geographically huge. It's difficult to get to a central location sort of event there. So I guess that's the opening about what it's about.
Yeah, like
4 games.
What was Bel
2
Con
days.
1 for you guys? Like, how's it gone? Because you did Old World in Bel Con 1, didn't you? But it was a 1 day.
Yeah, I only had 10 at that one. I had a couple of pull out. And that was interesting more as an experiment. And myself and others were quite horrified, really, to be honest. There was a list that was a lovely guy took the Bretonian army, which ran the it was one that basically you end up sort of effectively running a level 4 and a level 3.
The exile ones.
Oh,
it was awful, or just bad, really bad. And look, you can kind of take it on face value that the guy, I mean, I'm always at pains about how you think about whether or not your opponent's going to have a good time.
Enjoying.
Which basically you can sort of define these things. But with that one, I hadn't been really explicit enough, I think. So about like what is not really a good idea if you're going to turn up and play Australians. So if you're turning up with a game that's going to deny your opponents the magic phase, or any magic at all, as well as going to be complete, basically missile gun line. And you got people turning up with pretty soft stuff, like it's not fun. So that was interesting. That earlier one, we had an interesting experience putting one on with the ADFA. Sorry, it's not ADFA. The Australian Defence Force Wargaming Association. They put on 2 events and organised a tournament as part of that. It was interesting in and of itself. I had a couple of military people have a little bit of sook about changing the player pack a couple of weeks. I think I gave them a month. I think.
Oh, was that one?
But
Oh,
you'd
was
think
that the one?
I'd.
That was that one.
You remember that one?
Controversy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a bit of.
Oh, we know
that.
about that. Yeah.
No, I mean,
Don't worry, Andrew
Mate.
went into bat for you. It was like, come on, Tio.
yeah,
It's a hard job.
I appreciate that,
Yeah.
guys. But yeah,
Hmm.
that was like I had nearly I've done tournaments and events while some people are going off and playing that other system or whatever was the latest new pretty thing.
Yeah.
Other people are just sticking and playing Warhammer and whatever games. I don't care. Like great. There've been lots of games, but they're just quite perplexed by some of the reaction. It was sort of people just wanting the controversy rather than actually going directly to the TO to talk about what their concerns were or
I know. Posting
doing
on
something
Facebook,
different.
Yeah, it's a bit sad. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
It's a
No,
thankless
I was very much
task. I
going.
mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
you
TA's
try
going to
to.
get protected a bit. Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
loveless job,
I
thankless
was really-
job.
Yeah. I mean, I saw there was a little bit of that. I think you were talking to an excellent human that runs, puts on Castle Assault. There was some interesting chat about that. I guess it comes around to different expectations about how people want to play Toe.
Yeah.
And I guess on the one hand, we've got our rules literalists who may have come from other gaming systems. Who literally their expectation is that you play competitive, you play to the ladder of what the rules currently are, according to the company that's put it out. And if you can bend that game those rules as far as you can, you do so. Whereas we've got other people who have more of a nuanced view that you want to provide a space that's going to cater for a range of different experiences as well as a range of different styles. I guess is probably the comeback. So yeah, you're going to have some people who are going to be disappointed, but it's I don't know, a bit of sort of I almost was like, oh, fuck this. Why am I bothering putting on these things? Because
and it's got to be a little bit that this is such a different game in terms of how it's come out. Sort of going back to what we said right at the beginning of the show. Like if this was a 9th edition and everyone had their armies and it was just a bit of a progression, I could understand the kickback a little bit. That's like, hey, but when you're trying to, as a TO, you're trying to like dance with and make quick adjustments like on the fly as well, because people don't even have their armies or something's changed or so I can understand that everyone's just got to give each other a bit of slack, like it's just a weird especially back then too. When was that? Months ago now. So the game was out for like 3 months or something. And so the
pushback on putting restrictions.
Yeah.
It is interesting. I mean, the restrictions are always a difficult thing to do as a term. But my reaction, I mean, my first one, people are like, it hasn't been out for long enough, and I'm like, well, I don't care. I'm sorry, but I'm 50. I've wargamed since I was a young bloke. And I think when you're running events and you know how wargaming works, particularly popular game systems, a lot of us that are around who've done things could see from a mile away how a game can be broken, even without even having played many. Like it was like pretty obvious some of the stuff. And then it just comes back to the nuance of what do you want to cater for? Do you want to cater for new people and a range of expectations, or do you just want to narrowly lean into let's just go in and let the freaks break the game, and I shouldn't say freaks, but I just not a style of game that I particularly appreciate. Never have the win at all costs sort of attitude and all the rest of it. I think it's pretty immature stuff.
But I mean, having said that, your pack has evolved to be pretty. I wouldn't say it's got a lot of comp on it by any means, and even like Castle Assault doesn't really have comp either. It's just all, you haven't said it on here, but yours is a bit of a don't be a dick pack a little bit as well. Expect hard stuff, but also give your opponent a game.
Yeah.
Do you want to
I mean, we're
about
sort
that?
of spelling that out, but I think we're going to. I think I'm going to be probably a bit more liberal, probably even than the Castle Assault boys. in terms of like, look, I mean, it's 3 non-core. The only restriction really is the rule of 3 on non-core units, because I've had plenty of people sort of feedback. So orcs and goblins suffer from that if you're going to put that on everything. But other than that, that's one limitation, which is really not a big deal. And the other is for the scenario, Blood and Glory, which is an adaptation of the old 8th edition scenario. I always enjoyed that one. That was good fun. But the way it's going to run for this one is it's basically some bonus points. So that's bring some standards, you losers. So I'm kind of, as someone who's spent the last couple of years playing 6th edition, regularly playing Wood Elves, I'd always whack a standard on my, elf units. They're definitely you put a standard on your, you can put it on your scouts if you want, or on your Glade Guard or whatever. Like, it was one of those armies that probably didn't run banners a lot, but even MSU, I've seen, people played MSU back in the day a lot, and if you'd put wetback banners on, it's just some of the mess are out there just sort of being provided with different lists and just going, this looks like a game that I was never interested in playing. Whereas, I guess it was what I think in the pack we talk about it. Like, look, the game has been marketed as a rank and flank game with command groups. Maybe you might want to have your list look a little bit like that. So the way Blood and Glory works, we'll talk about it later on the scenarios, but you basically need at least one standard, or you're in danger of handing over a bonus to your opponent if your army breaks, so to speak. You get to keep playing the game, though, unlike the 8th edition version, but it's just an adaptation of that one. But that was one way, and I think, if people are looking at organising tournaments or events, I mean, you only need, yourself and 5 other players, and you've got a tournament, you've got a day out. Experiment with different scenarios.
Yeah, no, it's good. I like, and obviously you said right down the bottom here that, understand many want to have a crack at playing hard selections. So, handle T6 units, lots of shooting, serious magical defense. So, yeah, like, you're probably right. I mean, I've started to think about that. This is probably going to be a couple of, I don't know, Andrew, like, I'm not sure if it's the right thing to do, just take a castle assault list, I mean? I don't know. Like, maybe you can think about those things a bit more.
Well, give it a go. I mean,
assaults and areas are a bit different.
Let's just say I'm glad I'm not playing in this one.
Just watch the carnage.
0 win.
Yes, you get in, and then I think it'll be like, okay, I want to hear about how bad it went for people, and then it'll give me some more more data, so to speak, in terms of future things. Because it's, I get a bit, there's a fair call when people say, well, you haven't run enough events with enough people, so therefore, if you want to put restrictions on, you're a fucking, you need to do X. Okay, fine. We're putting one on that has very, very few limitations. We'll see how it goes, and we'll see what the feedback's like. It's just a different style of play, and we'll go from there. But
what was the feedback from the previous one that you had the heavier comp on in general from the people that were playing it?
Well, look, on the whole, everyone was really happy. We had. I mean, unfortunately, we had one. We had some interpersonal stuff with one bloke. One of the games went down badly. Well, 2 blokes anyway. Just a disagreement, bad communication, whatever. But on the whole, like, that had nothing to do with the actual pack of the game.
Yeah,
we had 2 guys come down from Campbelltown. Like, they said they really enjoyed themselves. I think it is still that for a lot of the older players, and I'm putting that in terms of people who've been playing for a while, just getting more and more used to the game, getting some more play in. It's still a bit of a mix. Well, fortunate enough in the ACT that Jolt Games is a regular meet that happens there, and that's where some of the more, more competitive style guys sort of turn up and play, and they're mucking around. And I know a couple of them, but the guy, they're not necessarily sort of the style of play I enjoy. So we're getting I think trying to get a compromise. I think it is possible to get that, but I think people are still very much experimenting and learning at the moment. Would be my take on it. If we get some new releases, that might give some people some more focus and something else to play. It's just weird. Anyway, I hope that answers that one.
Yeah, it was very similar sort of like concept with Shycon, like the event Matty put on. We were just lucky because he didn't really have any comp. He was a similar mindset, just trying to see that data, how things went. But we're just lucky, like just people just weren't being dicks like with their list.
Yeah.
It went really super hard list getting around. Everybody was sort of like, like a competitive list, but just nothing that, there wasn't somebody just 20-0ing absolutely everybody sort of like all the time. So
yeah. I think the other thing in the pack is we talk about sportsmanship.
Yeah.
Yep, there's a
Just
bit
basically
somewhere.
with sport. Yeah, I have found like there's interesting ways to put it. Like some people say, oh, well, it's the don't be a dick rule, but I think unfortunately we have to sort of live in a world where we have to sort of give practical examples about what that exactly means. I've become a bit more neurally divergent, sort of, aware. And I think, sadly, we've got all sorts of different people attracted to wargaming, and some people literally need, and they need a guide, yeah. And we should give people guides to explain, like, what's cool, what's not, and that's sort of in there. It's sort of talking about, like tips, like, go to, if you over communicate, like, I would, when you're explaining your opponent what it is you would like to do, like, I'm going to do this thing, and then confirm, things like that. So there's quite a bit of I sometimes I find it, I laugh sometimes looking at these things, going, I spent more time. There's more text in there about sportsmanship than other aspects, but that's really, as a TO, I really don't want to have to be dragged in to settle a dispute between grown adults. Like, it's just like, look, I think if people have got a guide there, it's very simple to then rectify. People need to come and see a TO if they've got a problem when it first happens and things like that. So dice games, whatever, all that funny weird stuff that we've
I love
seen
your
over the years.
point 4 here, saying use same coloured dice. Clearly identify if different dice are specific. Actually, I hate playing against. And usually they're the really good players. They're so good. They just have collected this a million different versions. They're all special dice that they won at some comp in ETC 10 years ago, and then they're like rolling these collection of half Monopoly dice or something, and I'm like, I can't even see what the hell. Like, and they're really quick at what they do, and they're not cheating, but it's just like, oh, this is frustrating. Yeah, so it's funny how you called some of that stuff out.
Using a timer as well. I've got that in. It's something I've had to practice in the past too. When you're getting used to a new game, like, yes, take your time. But if you're turning up to an event with strangers, people haven't met before, like, it's actually really rude to just drag and drag and drag. Like, set yourself a timer. Like, I think for when you're on your round, just go, okay, I've got 15 minutes to do my movement. Even just for yourself, give yourself a guide. I'm not saying
That's a really good point.
it's just a tip.
Totally. Yep.
Because we're giving a lot of time for this event. We're giving people like good 15 minutes to do all the fluffy stuff before the game. So, making sure we're okay. We've confirmed what your setup and the magic, what magic spells you got, and what is, we've confirmed what the terrain, what it does. Obviously, we're setting up the tables beforehand and saying what is what, but people still need to have that sort of conversation before they start. So they get 15 minutes to sort of just set up, and they get 2.5 for a game, and that should be more than enough time, particularly some of the newer people and the like, to actually hit 6 turns. I guess that's one of the things in the meta at the moment. Like, some people are saying they are hitting 6 turns in 2.5 hours, but I'm interested really looking at some of those sizes of games, like what the model count is and how many units and things like that. And if they're games with very few restrictions, my take on it, you play enough of those games with what is basically pretty small armies, you could probably do it in 2.5 hours. But if you're going to play games with lots of models, well, it could take some time. I don't know. I'm getting struck more and more. I increasingly don't think it's the best tournament system, really. I think we should probably just
Well, even
kind
go
of
back to your Yeah, going back to your first, like that, talking about just agreeing and talking it out with your opponent. Like, I think that Val Heffelfinger talks about it on Squarebase, and I like how he describes it. Like,
Yeah.
it's 40. It's probably come from 40K and all those systems a bit more now, where you agree. Really, what you're doing is you're agreeing on the game state, like with your opponent. So at any time, both players know exactly where everything is and how far things are, and so there's no cheating. There's no lying. Everyone's just but for that to work, the game has to agree with that a little bit, like has to conform to it. And I feel like Old World's slid off that a little bit, whereas Eighth was very easy to agree with a lot of things up front. And then Old World, because of the way charges work and stuff, it's gone a little bit the other way, where it's like, you're not totally sure. And even like fleeing, for example, you flee, and now it's not just a dice roll. It's like, well, you got to move the thing first, then you have to work out, how far, can you catch them? So there's a lot of, it's just these little edge cases, which it doesn't mean it's bad tournament, but it does make it a bit harder to have everyone on the same page all the time until you got to measure it out, which is a bit, it's frustrating. So, yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Take your point.
Absolutely. I just think, what do you see? What do you want to go? What do you see? What you get stuff?
Yeah, that's what's going to go back up. So I was trying to find out. It's just at the top here with proxies, because I'm really interested in this, because it seems different to pretty much any tournament I've been to in the Warhammer space. Exactly. So I was just talk us through that, the proxy section, and what the WYSIWYG is, and how strict you guys are down there. Is this a Canberra thing, or is is this coming from
I think it's probably it's come out of how we used to play Eighth, and then how people have been playing 6th edition.
Cool.
Where I mean, literally, and I think it's literally the same situation is what it is right now. We have only 3 official factions, and we have models that can be purchased from the Age of Sigmar range to use for rogue factions, or the bullshit sort of legacy faction sort of name. So it just makes sense, like, that people are going to turn up with proxy models, and I think this is no day. It is a shame. We talked about it that GW would rather burn piles of money on the main drag than actually put out re-release their models. That's why people are getting 3D armies and going to different manufacturers, and I think that is part of the game. I think in terms of being a little bit accommodating to that. So what we've got is, look, people can use third parties. That's fine. What I really care about is that you need the resources to play the game. So you need the rule books, whether it's PDF or the book. I'm one of those, like, buy all the books. And let's face it, we want the game to be accessible, and I know that there are people who will. They'll proxy other minis and the like, as long as they are what they're meant to be, I guess, is the key thing.
Yeah.
I've seen terrible things in the past. Like, I remember playing some Kings of War years ago, when they destroyed Eighth. You literally would have someone with like 3 models on a base saying, "Oh, that's my unit," and that got really bad for Mantic, because they were like, yeah, and it was like Mantic were even turning around and saying, you have to have X number of miniatures on your base, because they had the singular movement. The bases were units, like regiments, multi-base units. So we don't want to sort of see that sort of silliness, as much as, like, unit fillers. Sure, like, they're great, but they need to be modelled in a way that kind of
themed,
that makes sense. The idea is to sort of give it a good look. It's not about actually. You don't do these things just to get an advantage for the cheap, So if people are sort of wanting to do something a little bit like more risque, well, they can always just contact me about it. But look, running like Lego or Smurfs or whatever, there's been all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff in the community. But I don't have a problem with people running proxies for different things. I've been painting up some, and just about finished an army of Frank Franzetta inspired Amazonian wild ladies who are awesome. And I've got the view to sort of adapt and then to play them as wood elves. I mean, cool. I'll do that with some play that with some games with friends and stuff like that. But you just got to check in that people know what is what and that sort of thing. It's got to look good, and got to look consistent when being a fantasy battle type game, I guess.
It's a good
That's
point, though.
that's
Like, yeah. Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, it's a good point. Not so
Yeah.
much like I've been thinking of this from a point of view of the WYSIWYG, like, and we'll get to it like more like I think you made a mention around like the flying carpet and some of those type of things.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't sure how strict was, but before you even get to that, yeah, just the fact that you're going to rock up and see, even a Chaos army that's obviously a 3D printed Chaos manufacturer, but you still can't tell what the hell, like what's a chosen, what's a whatever, because it could be totally different to what we're used to seeing. And we're just going to have to, well, A, we've got to accept it because there's no Chaos out there. And B, you just got to have some rules in like what you've been trying to do here. So it's something I didn't even think of, but it's probably going to crop up a lot more.
Yeah, look, I know some local game stores here have been. I told one. I'm not going to name which one, but they sort of set a minimum that you can't have any more than 25% or 20% or whatever of your army proxied by, or 3D printed, if you like. They want you to use the GW stuff.
Oh,
I don't know how true that is or whatever, but I have heard of that. I kind of that's one way adapting to it, but I think we should probably just chill out about it. Like while GW won't actually release us the bloody
Well,
models,
what are you supposed to do?
yeah, you can't buy
what are you
them.
meant to do? So there are some fantastic releases coming out at the moment. War Games Atlantic. I'm really looking. I'm going to pick up some of their Foot Knights. They look compatible with the fourth, fifth edition old Foot Knights. I thought it was hilarious. The scale, the scale creep. If you look at that, it's hilarious. But you can find some great historicals out there that run as proxies. Victrix has got some really cool knights coming out. They're probably one of the best ancients and medieval miniature manufacturers out there. Their scale's not too far off GW. But my point is there are some great stuff out there, and why wait? Get some models and put them on the board, and just make sure you got the books and throw GW some love when they throw us some love, I guess. The other bit in terms of the WYSIWYG, so what you see, what you get. It's a long time thing, but for me, it's about modeling to advantage. So there are the common sense thing. If you're running I'm running the Ruby Ring of Ruin on a hero character, right? Now, obviously, the old school purists would be saying, "Okay, you're gonna model a ring on something." Of course, you're not going to do that. Okay, it's the same with mutations. Like you can sort of accept, your gore, your gore hero, whatever,
Slug
has got
skin or
some
something
mutation.
or whatever.
Sure, fine, yeah,
Whatever.
whatever, fine. You don't need to go and model that. Like, yes, it would look awesome if you did something like that, but that's okay. That's fine. The virtue things. You come across these weird, wonderful things in Warhammer Fantasy like that, which is sort of like they don't necessarily need to be represented, but it's when you actually start saying you've got equipment on the model, which gives them an obviously an advantage. If you don't have it modeled on it, that's the point. So if you've got a model that doesn't have what looks like heavy armor, well, say they got light armor, you go, well, no, they got heavy armor. Well, no, there's got to be kind of rational. Saying someone's got a shield, there's no shield. That's the sort of running the flying carpet. Like, well, where's your flying carpet? You know what I mean? Like, it's the putting equipment on that is going to give you an obvious advantage that you wouldn't. A reasonable, obvious. People would go, look, it's not modeled on it, so don't do it. Because we're getting to the realms of like this is the sort of area where you get your uber competitive type is going to think about, well, I want to take all these U-Butte toys on this model, but they don't have the actual model. So it's like, well, go and make the model.
Yeah,
and in this
okay.
day and age with 3D printing and all the rest of it, well, isn't it awesome that you can actually access all sorts of great proxy models and all the rest of it? Hence, I think people should be a bit relaxed about proxy models, which is, I guess, the get out of jail card there for people. But I mean, again, with proxies, like, people saying, oh, look, I'm running, say, a hero character on a different mount than what you normally have on official GW. Like, that's not a problem. It's just, it's so people can, it's very clear what it's going to be and how it's going to play.
Yep.
Like, if it's on the right size base and the like, that's not an issue.
Yeah, that's like your dwarf thing, hey, Andrew. Like, you've got your you're running the throne, aren't you? As the
Yeah,
thing?
it's
Is that what you're doing?
shield
'Cause you
bearers.
don't have,
Yeah.
it's not even out. So yeah.
Well, I've
Yeah.
got
Looks cool.
because I'm running. Well, yeah, but I'm trying to run 2 lots of shield bearers. So, I've actually got the shield bearers with my BSB on it, but then I sort of wanted them to be separate. So I want the king to kind of look like he's the king on his throne, and then I'll make the BSBs on his shield bearers, sort of thing, rather than having 2 of the exact same model. It was just sort of like,
Yeah.
that's what I just thought.
Yeah, it makes
It'll
sense.
look cool in that
Yeah.
respect.
But my
I think
flying
also in like
necromancer is on a bird, so does that count? He's not on a carpet, but he's on a bird, so hopefully that's okay.
he's on a bird. I think that's a fair. Could do that.
He
You
looks
show me a
flying.
picture.
He's on a flying stand.
It's
He's on a
just
GW
got to
flying
look.
stand.
It's got to look. Yeah. I think it's just got to be a fair representation of what what is meant to be on the model to get that advantage, I guess. Because you do. I mean, you would have come across this. You do have some people just want to. If you're playing a game against a stranger and they're saying, "Oh no, I've actually got this," it's like, well, it can be really not
I struggle
cool.
to
Like if
remember
you're playing with your
my
mates,
own
I
armies.
don't care. Like it's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's when you're playing complete strangers and you want to play the mates card. That's just not cool. So what's reasonable, I guess, is the way there. So remember, like shields as well. Like it's a funny one. You might have a unit like just as long as the majority's got shields, they don't even need to have them. All the models don't have to have them. It's just that you have the majority of models might have them. It's sort of a reasonable sort of
Are you
representation. So if anyone
so
gets
with that,
I've
are
never
you
really had
okay
too many
with?
dramas with this one.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's not because like for example, my Tomb Guard, I think I deliberately modelled like half of them with halberds, half of them with sword and board, and I just end up putting the sword and board at the front if I'm playing the sword and board, that type of thing. Like it's pretty common.
What you're going to see, on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I've done similar with some of my gore in my Beastman army. Like you can run some of the guys with 2 hands, throw them up the back if I'm running too many a larger unit. Like it's not a big deal as long as the majority of the unit's got it. It's just when you get the sort of the silly stuff someone turns up with.
Yeah.
Saying a whole unit that doesn't have any shields on them at all. Oh, they've got shields. Oh, really? Like that's where other people get upset. It's more than anything. It's not me. It's helping facilitate that. I think that's the WYSIWYG stuff. I mean, I guess I don't know. I mean, putting on these sort of wargaming at the end of the day, like the fun bit is actually playing strangers and meeting new people and trying it out. But we try to provide a tone for what's a good way to play. Hopefully, that people appreciate how the framework is sort of set up and people are going to enjoy themselves. And generally speaking, that's there's plenty of good ones in Australia to get to, which is great. So, I'd urge people if they're interested in running something in their little towns or whatever, like they should really look at some of the various groups around have been putting on events. You only need 5 people to do a day. I think that's one of the things that's missing at the moment is more people trying to actually get out to talk to new people and bring new people into the actual game. Particularly while take advantage of the fact that we're still waiting for so many new models. Well, sorry, old new models
old
to come back.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I've had a lot of games now, and I'm still every time I won't play for I haven't played for like a couple of weeks now, and I'm like, oh god, fuck, I've forgotten.
Yeah.
And you're always having to go back and read the book again. But once you start playing again, it's easy enough to sort of pick up the basics. So, yeah.
Going back to what you were saying before, I think Ben, I think one of the reasons, even for myself, would be turned off from trying to run an event would be I just feel like you're just going to get criticized for people. You just try and run an event, and this is what I don't think people really get, and this is why I think sort of TOs need to be sort of protected by the community a bit, as long as they're not, just your standalone run-of-the-mill TO. I just don't think should be copping abuse for just trying to put on an event and trying to have like a fair sort of gameplay for everyone. It's not like you're looking after your mates here and then the out of towners are getting screwed over. Like everyone's you all got the same rules, don't you? So it's like,
Yeah.
Oh,
There's
I
no,
mean, you
no
guys would
financial
know this.
benefit to
Yeah.
to Ben here.
yeah, exactly.
I think every event I've been involved in, you're losing money. Like,
Yeah.
there's no money in it.
Nah.
Like, even if it just comes down to,
No.
spending money on some printing, or, if you're gonna be, get taken a bit more seriously and take out a subscription to some of the tournament organizing apps and things, like, it's cash that you're doing it because you love the game and you want to help facilitate activities for people and provide a space for new, but you want to grow the game. So Andrew, I really appreciate Andrew's point there, and people should really just back off, particularly this stage with what's going on, because it's like, was it one of the arguments is, we can't put restrictions on because the game hasn't been around long enough. But it's like, well, my take back is like, well, we don't need people like like that then turning around and trying to police how other people run their activities. You know what I mean? Like, go to the ones you enjoy, and go to the ones you don't go to the ones you don't want to go to.
Exactly.
Well, it's
rather
not
than
like
have a
Games
spray
Workshop are
about it.
tracking the data. If they were tracking the data and they're the ones who can change the game, then that's a slightly more valid point. But realistically, no one's. I mean, I know people are tracking it, but they've got no control over tracking it. They're just doing it for the fun of tracking it as well. So,
I'm look. It's I think it's there's a good time right now to actually sort of do some more activities, I think, and just try to sort of set a tone about how we want to play. Particularly, there's a good, I think a lot of the older players should really take responsibility for trying to set a tone for how they want the hobby to be. My concern is that the old world will die if there's lots of reasons why, but if we have a community that's not interested in actually engaging with new people, we got a big problem. So how we treat each other with events is really a key part to that. We know it's only a small part actually of the hobby. Most people who buy all this stuff actually just play at home, and they'll have a few key friends, and that's it. But if we can actually hook them into an organised community, well, we just grow it exponentially. So be kind to each other.
Well, we talked about this the other week. It's just one of the best parts, and I know you said like even the best part's playing, but it's almost just also just hanging out with that group of people who are like-minded, and like you can meet anyone who plays this game around the world, and you're probably best friends with them. So like, and most of us are quite introverted as nerds in this type of hobby. But you go to one of these events, and I think if you haven't been to one, I think they're so much more welcoming, and fun than even what I would have thought before I ever went to them. And so it's a good way to get people in, get them to an event, even if they're not playing, like come and hang out and sit at the table and have lunch and, hang out beers afterwards, So.
Catering for all sorts, I think, is the key. So it's good. Yeah. That said, I don't know. I'm impressed that you guys are going to brave Castle, because I'm just going with the I'm too old angle for the silliness for that one.
I couldn't miss it now. That's.
I'm just like, you've got no excuse. You're just down the road. I mean, that's fine.
Exactly.
But,
yeah.
I'm taking the angle of like
two of us are. One of us is coming from Melbourne.
Josh has to brave the airports.
It's. I do find it. Yeah. It really used to be a young man's gig, that one, but I just find it funny. There's people who got a bit older and more responsibility still thinking they're going to be able to pull it off. So I'm like, I'm impressed.
Probably won't be doing
great.
as hard as it used to. But I don't know. I'm playing Angus first up probably. So he's I'm going to be up filling that bloody Kimoma mug as many times as I can.
That's why I love day two. Day two, you're just like looking around the room. There's so many, just regret all through that room.
Much regret.
I reckon one of the best games is the third game if you get the right player. Like, because my last one was awesome last year. Who did I play? What's his name? Doesn't matter. But he was one of the guys who used to be on Podhammer for a bit. Oh God, what's his name? Oh, I can't remember. But like we just wanted to sit down, drink, and push the armies forward. That was it. Like,
Was that the guy with the Slaanesh army?
Yeah.
Dave, was that Dave?
Yeah, Dave Palmer. Yeah,
Dave Palmer. Yeah,
It was
I played
so
him
fun. It was
too.
the best
It was,
game.
I really love this game.
Because, like you're saying, but it's like when you find the right type of like mindset that everyone's got the same way they want to play. It's so good. And in that case, it was we'd had enough drink. Like we were still drinking, but we'd had a lot. It was just like, this is a sit down game. We're not standing over the table measuring everything. It was just like roll some dice. That was it. Yeah. Good.
Yeah. That was the game where your Hierophant got killed by some Furies, wasn't it? Is that
something and I killed, and my chariots or my horse archers killed his demon prince. It was the dumbest game. Just
what a crazy game.
Crazy stuff. Yeah. Should we? Do you want to just smash through? We don't. Yeah, we don't need to do it in detail. Just as if anything. There's four games there. Anything out of the, I guess, ordinary? I guess you already talked about Blood and Glory a little bit.
Yeah, look, in terms of that one, I mean, I'll just pull it up. What do we got? Look, Blood and Glory. So it's an adaptation of 8th edition, and what people need to do is you have a breakpoint, which you start with a breakpoint score of 2, and to have and then you have fortitude. And the way it works is when you lose your fortitude, you get to your breakpoint. So your fortitude is calculated by how many standards you got, including your battle standard bearer. So if you get, say, 1 standard and you've got a BSB, that's 2. You get 2 points for your general, so that's 4. So in the course of the game, if you would reduce to 2, your army's broken, and you are going to hand over. I think I've got, was it 250 bonus points? 250 victory points to the opponent.
That's good.
Now the game will continue, but the other player can't subsequently break the other guy and get a bonus from that. So the point is in that scenario is basically take some bloody banners, and it's just there's nothing that's sadder in the world than a dwarf army with no banners, as far as I'm concerned. That's just my.
I got plenty, don't you worry.
Oh, God. With combat res of like 10 or something.
I need it.
Yeah, no, I think it's a concession to the purists, the old school 80s purists. Like, where's your banner? But it's a fun little scenario too, that idea, because it does actually, with that scenario, what I always liked about it is it really forced you to actually hone in on trying to destroy. I mean, the units that would have banners are combat units. So generally speaking, so it means it encourages you to actually go into combat,
and the deployment zones like that too. Like right up there, 15 inches. Yeah.
So get stuck in. Other than that, there's still the sort of standard stuff, which I ripped off. Good old Matt had already did some great maps. So I was like, I think, so from Shoutouts, so that was pretty easy. You don't use those previous ones as well, so good on him. Yeah. And the boys and girls down at the Shoutouts, they put on some great events. But we've got the Arcade Monolith scenario, which is in the book. There's the meeting engagement one, and there's a battle line. So pretty simple stuff. The meeting engagement one, I really enjoy that one because that's really good for, depending on how you're feeling about the world, you can end your game rather quickly with that one.
Roll for that's the D6 one, and on a roll they've got to hold them back.
Yeah, and it's the one where you've got that the diagonal setup. And not much you could be really in each other's faces, like straight up. So it's a good way.
6 inches.
I used to love.
Line?
Oh, it's
I can't remember. It's pretty close, isn't it? Yeah.
It's really, really close. Like there's different ways to play. But there's a scenario like that in 8th edition, which used to be great at a CanCon, because it was it was one way to end your game quickly, so you could actually go to the toilet. But the epic one I went to, which I think we had 6 games or something stupid. It was a ridiculous number of games we had, and literally people didn't have time. to do all sorts of things that you normally want to do. So betting engagement is a good one. If you were putting on an event, it's like, yeah, that's a good one. We can play that. Some people, or quite a few people, might actually finish the games quickly, getting stuck in, and then you go and have your lunch. But that's a little trick one to do. Yeah.
And then
It's interesting.
Gary,
So it's
Should be-
diagonal deployment, but if something gets held back, it comes onto the long end of
edge,
the table, but
yeah.
anywhere on
The
that
long edge,
deployment zone. So
Yeah.
which means you could actually deploy them quite close to the action potentially, depending on where along the diagonal line most of the battle's taking place. It's not
Yeah.
as punishing as
There's
if it
a,
was longitudinal deployment and then just coming right on the back of the table. Yeah, interesting.
Little dwarf and legs.
Yeah. Oh, it's perfect. It's a great one for the stun. I mean, sorry, not the Sunnies. I mean, for the dwarves to get into, because you can get in real quick if you decided to play rather aggressively with that scenario. That's one way to compensate for the ridiculous insistence that dwarves can only move 3 inches. I'm on a losing end of an argument I've been having for decades now that, like, what is it? The measurements of distance are meant to be measurements of sort of time lapsed. This sort of the whole point of the dwarf, when they first designed the game, they were thinking about individual models, and the game was very much a skirmish game, the old first edition Warhammer Fantasy. But when you started mucking around with units and regiments and ideas of concepts of whole, I mean, Warhammer Fantasy Battle is very much a battalion regiment game. So you see this in other ones, and what you get with the treatment of dwarves is, no, they only move 3 inches. It just gets really stupid, because at other times they'd have other factions with, at one point they put the armor penalty on humans, so they could only move 3 inches. Then there was like, oh shit, actually things can't move. Oh, this is terrible. We're not able to get into the game because we've got so that sort of dumb stuff. We still have this sort of insisting on the 3 inch. There are concessions with some of the rules, I guess, to sort of compensate for that. But I'm very much like, there's games like Oathmark where dwarves move as fast as anyone else, really. Not super fast, average. You know what I mean? Like, it makes more sense in terms of
Natural
even if you
sprinters.
even if you kept the
regiments,
-1 from fleeing and pursuing or something, give them a little bit of a penalty that they might not be just as quick, but move 4 inches. I know. I see what you mean.
Anyway,
might make them OP though. Now I don't know. Who knows?
They're great fun. Other than that,
and then you got just finish off with the stranded open battle on.
Battle.
It's a good finish.
Yeah.
Just the standard. So the 2,000 point thing is going to be interesting because I haven't played a 2,000 point game yet myself. It's all been under 2,000, so I'm interested to see how people go playing 2K. I've played plenty of, like I've played 1999 and a lot of 15 and 1800s, but there's a lot of people who are very much like, oh cool, 2000, and I'm interested to see how people go, particularly the timing, to see if they get to 6 turns. I know with some of the smaller point, I think we did 1800 at the with the ADF. People did get to 2.5 and did do the whole thing. Probably by the second game they were able to get get there, but it's still. It takes a lot for people
to me. I don't think I've had a 2.5 hour game yet, so that's because I haven't played it in tournament. So it's going to be good to speed it up.
Interesting to see how it goes.
Yeah, just push it forward. Yeah.
Gummo, recurring alarm going off.
Yeah, well, I will. I'm going to have my 15 minute on my arm. Yeah.
Just drive everyone nuts. Okay, I'm moving. Get that.
Cool. Anything else you want to add around Old World, just in general, or where you see it going? Or I mean, you obviously enjoying it so far, but you've obviously got some concerns. But
I'm very much in that. I'll take the view if you're gonna. I've committed to it. Like to do quite a bit with it this year. In terms of playing and putting events with people I regularly do things with. But I mean, I guess my concern is like a lot of other people, which is about how long until they release other stuff, which is part of it. Not a massive issue for me because I've already got things. It's more in terms of my concern is about other people getting into it. I'd like more younger people to actually access the game. It's nice seeing it back in in game stores, seeing our box of stuff and things like that, which I haven't seen for a long time. So that's something. But the main thing is, I think more events, and I think it's really good. There's a lot of events going on in New South Wales the next little while, and some down in Victoria. I know you guys have been covering all that. It's really good, useful to be talking about those things. And I think my concern is that people don't have enough avenues to go and try it out. And then probably there's an element of, I guess, I don't know, I'm having this experiment. I'll let you guys know how it goes, but this idea of just trying out a intro, learn to play type thing at a game store. Because it is interesting that GW is really doing nothing for Toe in Australia. And the only way there's going to be more interest is if actually people who want to play it and see it happen, they're going to have to pull their fingers out and do some things with it. So, listening to Old Elf Fanatics and, any of the other podcasts out there. Was it Frank and Alex having their little technical chats about the rules? They're very good at that. That's great. Yeah.
Whole world.
That's all part of it. So people should put themselves out there, I think.
Yeah, Andrew, maybe that's something because we did talk about good games there for a bit and stuff, and I wonder if that's something that they'd ever want. Because like people like us could easily spend a day there and take 2 armies each, and then suddenly you set up a few games. You don't play, but you just let other people play them. But
yeah, I went in there and spoke to them about that actually. But yeah, they're setting up. They're heavily into obviously Magic the Gathering and whatnot, but they were looking at expanding into wargaming soon. Which would be
Good Games Maitland's having a tournament on that same. Isn't it the same? Is it the same as Bel Con? I can't remember. I can't make it to that one either. Even though
I think it was. I couldn't
it's on the same weekend as BelCon.
I think so. I think it's next week.
You're going to drive all the way to Canberra and you're going to miss a tournament in Newcastle. At the same
but it was only one day, so I'd rather go to the BelCon. So
yeah, of course, of course.
All good. Hey, let's move on. Ben, do you want to hang around or?
I'll hang around for a little bit. Yeah, because
let's smash.
We're making good time.
Yeah. Now we'll smash through this. We don't need to. I feel like this probably has the most changes in a way. This section, but I don't. So Ben, did you?
This is probably the meatiest one.
Yeah, but so maybe if we do keep it to one each, it won't go too long. But probably who knows? So just for those listeners, we've been picking parts of the rule book just to go through our hits, misses, and favourites. So what that means is a bit confusing, and I made it up and it's a bit confusing. But anyway, what it is the hits are basically mostly should be new stuff that they've added that we like. And misses are things that they added that we don't like or things they should have added and they didn't. And then favourites can be anything. That could be stuff they kept, you like that they kept X, Y, and Z or, whatever. Or they brought something from 6th or it can be a new thing as well. So if you want to double up on something that you like, just end with a positive thing, I guess. So that was the reason why I did it. Anyway, so we're up to the combat phase at the moment, and I think I might have even had this up here, but I'm not sharing the screen anymore. So basically everything to do with combat. So this was the, the whole combat sequence right through to the oddball stuff and how terrain interacts with combat. So do you want to go round table and just see what people think? We might have a lot of similar things here. I'm not sure. I've got to find my list here. Halliday somewhere. Anyone got a? Because you already had prepped.
I've been hanging on this.
You were prepped.
Yeah. I was prepped.
Wait,
disappointed.
You didn't run it.
Josh and Gomo let me down.
I jumped in with my 3D printer chats last week.
This private tutorial lesson that we broadcast to the world.
Yeah. All right, hits. My first hit is the initiative buffs. I like the way that they've done it.
Mine.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
It's cool. So I just like it. Obviously, you can have great weapons, and then obviously you get the +3, but you could still get some real nimbly elf who's quicker than you can still strike first. So there's definitely a buff for charging, but it's not always a guarantee that you're going to strike first.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It feels like adding just that initiative from the charging and the flanks has made initiative relevant. Like it feels like they've tried it different ways in different editions and it's worked and it hasn't worked. And this one
Just more in
feels
depth.
like initiative is important. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's really cool.
Who else?
What about the 2-hit chart, guys?
Are you reading off what I've written here? That was my second one. 2 plus
That was
2.
a good one.
2's awesome.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it? It just gives so much meaning to high weapon skill, to low weapon skill. It's so granular. But it doesn't go up to 6 either. Like it just caps at 5s to hit, which I think is also really well thought out.
Yeah.
But it also just rewards some people trying to hit stuff with when you've got high weapon skill. You don't just cap out at 3. You can hit on 2s, which is really good.
Yeah.
And it sort of gives a reward to elves in a way that, like, without having the always strike first buff, if you know what I mean. Like it does it just puts that whole concept into the game itself, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Did you have a third one, Gomo, on your list?
Yeah, I did actually. The Sailment spells, in the fact that I haven't really used them a lot yet, probably because the armies I'm using. But I feel like even the meta hasn't totally got there yet to realise that. I've said this before. It feels like we're always hesitant to put wizards in combat, but I feel that because you get to do it in both phases and it's just a combat attack, I don't know. It feels like there must be some armies out there. And I'm sure there is. I just haven't run into them where that's what you do. You throw these wizards in. They've got fighty powers like the Beastmen and stuff, but they're also smashing you with assailments twice a turn. Potentially a lot of damage can be dealt out there, which I thought was pretty cool. And it's just one of these examples where they've added something which I think everyone missed on the initial read, that it was like, actually you cast this in every phase. What the hell? Like, in each turn. So I thought that was pretty cool, just mixing it up a bit. Got any hits there, Ben? New stuff they've added?
Yeah, just on the assailments, I think first reading I was a bit like, are they fucking crazy? It's like, you want my wizard to do what? Get into combat? But it is pretty cool actually that they've got that built into the game, which is great, and you can actually put some decent defense on a whiz, a couple of the initiative things and things like that. And it's pretty cool. I guess in terms of hits, I really like the compensation, I guess, for the no step up, like in 8th. All your models got to fight. Going back to sort of the 6th edition where you get charged, and if you guys die, well, they're dead, and there's no step up. So the fallback in good order is a really nice compensation for that. I find the fact that you can have a unit, if you've missed time things and you missed your chance and you cop a charge, there's a good chance your unit's just going to fall back and still function until we're outnumbered. But they're going to have at least be ready to have another go. And I think people are sort of starting to comprehend that. So starting to see a bit some bigger size units, which is good. I quite enjoy that one. That's definitely one of the hits for me. And I think I agree that the initiative thing's great, and neutering always strikes first has been a good thing to do. I quite like that initiative change as well. With great weapons. And rolling you're rolling 2s on the chart. How good is that, Josh? Like, I remember that as a kid. I remember vividly buying 3rd edition Warhammer Fantasy Battle, and that's how I basically got into loving elves. It was like, oh wow, I get to roll a 2 against goblins. You know what I mean? Like it was awesome. So we actually, it does seem to be a point having higher weapon skill armies, whereas that hasn't been a thing for a long time. It was always, you could never do any better than a 3. So,
I didn't realize that was a thing in 3rd edition. That's interesting to hear.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was, but I remember we were pretty obsessed with being able to do the 2.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Cool.
The no step up thing, that does sort of interact with the charging initiative bonus, doesn't it? Like the only reason the initiative bonus for the charge is actually important is because there isn't a step up in a way. If there was step up, it would be a lot less important, really.
Yeah.
If it was striking first.
Yeah.
Do we have any misses, guys?
Oh, do I? Do
Oh, yeah.
we?
Yeah, go
Randall?
for it. Go for it.
I
Andrew.
definitely like one of
Who
them.
should I steal? Who should I steal? I got
Two in
two that I
this.
reckon. Yeah, I'm sure other people got these. I'll do the obvious one because I know I'm going to get somebody here. The fighting rank, just being the entire front rank. I don't like the line hammer as much because I like having that ranks because it is rank and flank. I don't want line and line. So I would have been good, like maybe if it was just the front rank, the corner to corner, and possibly one more each side or something like that. Not, I just don't like seeing these 20 wide units, and they all.
Yeah, so that was one of my misses, but slightly different. But it's slightly different. It's the same in the sense that it's coupled with the fact that they've like lowered max rank bonus. I feel like I don't overly mind the line hammer, providing there is some other cap, like I don't know, like double your unit strength or whatever. But I feel like because they got rid of rank, and I know the actual rank bonus number isn't in this section, but the fact that most people can only get like +1 or +2, it's almost doubly telling you to go line hammer, and then that breaks the whole immersion of Warhammer. So that's I like the simplicity of just going, what's in the front rank? Oh, 3 died from getting killed. I can hit back with 7. I like the simplicity in a way, but it feels like there's no incentive to not go deeper. Yeah, so I don't know. It's sort of pretty much like you said, Andrew, but slightly different take on it.
Well, that's also just plugs into like a lack of reward for going deeper in other areas of the book, like we were talking about definition of rank bonus and limits to +2 and that type of thing. That sort of interacts with that a little bit as well.
I think we're seeing infantry suffer a little bit, and is it that bad that they used to get +3 rank bonus? Like, I don't understand why that was taken out, given that if you go too deep, you turn into marching column anyway. So, like, why did they take it? Why did they lower it? Like, it's a bit weird.
I don't know if it's maybe the close order thing. Maybe they were thinking the fact if you got a close order unit and then you get the +2, you run 2 ranks. For a +3 is the way to sort of that is one way to do it. But I'd scratch my head. I don't think they thought that one through in terms of. I mean, what we got now is there are some games you look at and you go, well, what is this? It looks like a weird mongrel child of
Age of Sigmar or something.
Age of Sigmar and 18th century 7 Years War stuff, like 2 lines of troops line up and go into it. Oh, okay, that's great. I mean, granted, you'd have that 6th edition when playing Woodies. I mean, yes, you'd be skirmish and then you'd go into a line, but you were still required to sort of, you'd maximise, but you wouldn't be. It was kind of within reach. You wouldn't run massive units like that though either. You'd only have units of 8 or 10 or something like that. But yes, it's propensity to break it, and the no penalty for that. It's just they really should they really just sold. Give an extra rank bonus. We're all happy. That'll actually get back to something a bit more. That was definitely one of my misses. Is that one? It really annoys me. More in terms of it's aesthetically the look just really annoys me.
Yeah.
And people will throw back, oh, but the Woodies, and you go, well, fine, I can handle that for Woodies, but dwarves, like, come on, man,
I know. That's the you hit the nail on the head.
These chaos armies, like these, the hordes of chaos. We're not seeing hordes of chaos, are we? We're seeing, small unit of cavalry and someone on a dragon, and like it's just like, oh, man, it looks like a weird skirmish game. It's not actually looking like a rank and flank regiment game. Like that's where we find ourselves. So I guess it's really basically on players to sort of work out how they want to aesthetically play, I guess. But Yeah, I don't. We used to have lap around in 6, and a lot of time we just forget about it. Because
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, you could lap around, which did the same
Especially
thing,
I
but at least it was
found
kind of limited.
Background's great.
Yeah. Coming back to
Lap around is
sets,
great.
totally forgot about it because you weren't using it
Yeah.
since 6th. And yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like,
too much fart assing around. Which is a bit like the line stuff is a little bit of fart assing around.
it is,
really,
especially when you got drilled
is
and
a
you can
bit.
change that. And then there's obviously more skirmish units now, and suddenly you're just like, there's a lot of fiddling. Yeah. Which also go AOSing.
Not good.
Yeah. Josh, I reckon I know what you're going to have because I've got it here. Let's see.
Do you?
Oh, I don't know.
Go for it.
I know what you got.
Being able to reform after Fabigo, is that on this one? Pretty sure.
Nah.
Oh, it's not on this one.
No, it's not on this one. We've covered that. We covered that in the moving one, I think.
Yeah,
It was in the brake test bit. Okay, sorry. I just jumped on it.
I knew exactly what you were going to
Reform.
say. But yeah, restrained reform.
It's like we've covered
There's
it
too many
pretty-
reforms.
Uh,
So yeah, maybe
Here
it
it is.
isn't in this. So maybe I screwed that one up. Maybe it's not in this one specifically. But yeah, there's still, I think, too many places you can reform after combat. I feel like even if you.
I agree. Like that was one of mine actually. Yeah,
it
reforming
was
after
in here, but
catching a
maybe it's
fleeing
not.
enemy
Where's the back
or
signal there?
pursuing, like catching the curs.
Yeah.
mm,
You can just freely reform after that, which is a little bit forgiving.
Mm.
And then overrun also, not being limited to charging units, just like you just overrun
Yes.
if you destroy something in combat. It's like what?
mm.
That was another one.
Was that one of yours or?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Anyone else got any misses?
I got one more.
Ooh.
The brake test explanation.
Oh, okay. That's a good point. Yeah. Yeah.
It confuses people.
So you're
You
not
read it,
against
you're just like,
the
"Fuck."
whole give ground fallback. You actually like that? That's just more just how they've bloody written it.
I don't mind it. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not the end of the world. It's something different. Anyway, we'll see how it goes in the long run. But just the way when you first, I think I had to read it probably 4 or 5 times to try and get my head around it. Just, I don't know. I just don't like the way they explained it.
Mm. And was it in the articles when they were talking about it back in the, back in January?
Oh, the
where they
almanacs?
actually had, the almanacs, where they actually had like a little chart.
Oh,
They have
yeah.
like a chart with like leadership
chart would be
8,
good.
this one
Yeah,
broke.
yeah.
Like it was not a chart, but like a diagram. They
Examples.
don't have it
of
in here, do they? Which would make it a little easier.
Mm.
No, I agree. That's a good one because it's confusing as.
Maybe I'm just a simple bloke.
Well, I don't think it's that hard. It isn't. It's not your fault. It isn't hard. It's just the way then it gets described. It turns into this harder thing, which is actually not that hard. But,
yeah.
you
No,
know,
it's not hard, but yeah, you kind of read it. You're just like, huh?
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Anyone else?
I've got one more,
Ooh.
which is actually from the FAQ.
Ooh.
Oh,
But it's
Got the extra yard.
It's the FAQ about a model with a split profile consisting of
God,
not
yeah.
one model but several,
on.
all sharing the same base.
yeah, yeah.
Like so
Yeah.
ridiculous. Because it just opens up Pandora's box of knock-on effects there. Like they could have just kept it as a split profile, and each split profile gets one attack as if they're in the front rank. That would have been easy enough to define it as, rather than
Yeah,
redefining
well,
the whole
it's-
thing as.
Again, it's more incentive. Like I'm better off running all Tomb King chariots in massive line, aren't you? Because they're all getting their horses and dudes on top all get attacks.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, with that FAQ. Yeah.
Well, I think that's what they mean, though, isn't it? Like each profile gets one attack.
Mm. So is it
That's
one
what they-
horse?
Well, if in the case of a cavalry model, for example, this would be one attack from the rider and one attack from their mount.
What about 2 horses and 2 mounts on a
So-
chariot? So what do they get? Just one?
The
Or is
way
it
I
one
read
each?
that paragraph, they all get one each
Yeah.
profile line. But then I guess you had 2 horses, yeah.
Yeah. Is that one profile?
It's got
I don't know.
2 off to the side. Yeah, so
That's
it's-
true.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I have to ask the TO.
I don't know.
How's that
Yeah.
ruled? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Where's the PO?
Yeah. Bed's pleading the fifth. You got any, Ben, on misses or just
No,
the
I think you guys have
fine?
covered it well, really. I mean, they're the glaring ones. I mean, probably the formatting, like Andrew's saying, the way it's laid out it can be a bit confusing. And I myself have the same thing. I always have to go back and reread it every time before I go and have a game. It's just like, am I doing this right? Okay, yeah, this is what it is. Yeah. It is one of those things. No, on the whole, though, I'm quite happy um, with the feel of it. I did actually muck around a little bit years ago with Warhammer Ancients, which is part of what some of the things are
Ooh.
inspired by
Yep.
in this set of rules, along with good old 6th edition. You're seeing all sorts of aspects of various versions of this game, but I think the spirit of what they're trying to do in terms of providing another level of nuance to what happens after a combat, giving you lots of tactical decisions to make afterwards when your unit falls back in good order. Do you follow up or not, and things like that. There's things we didn't used to have in the last edition, or even probably in 6. Well, it's different in 6. I mean, that was sometimes annoying. The In 6, you destroy the fact you couldn't reform it, or you're just sort of stuck there. I was like, you're there. But
I think
you
keep
did
going.
find
Yeah.
yourself, you did find yourself going, well, I mean, 6, I've often thought sometimes to be a little bit chess-like, in terms of, if you got the drop on the
Yeah.
other guy, smash them up, you get to the end, okay, well, that unit might be out of the game, but that's fine. They've played their role, move on to the next piece, you know what I mean? Like, whereas
Yeah.
I think units are still able to continue in the game, even if they get clobbered one round, and they can come back and do a bit more, which is cool, because that was a lot of that going on in the Warhammer Ancients sort of stuff. I only played a couple of games of that. Beautiful books, but and didn't really, very much popular in people's backyards in Australia. Not really. There wasn't really much organised play. Definitely more of a European thing. But yeah, no, it's been good. I think if anything, some of the psychology I'm a little bit perplexed by. It hasn't really seemed to have had much of an impact enough for me. I know people fear in 6 was awesome if you're running undead.
That's very
Outnumber
good.
them, cause fear, they ran away. It was awesome. But I mean, I definitely muted that one. But I'd kind of like some of the psych to have a little bit more of an impact, a bit more. But that's by the by.
Yeah, probably see that
But
more.
yeah.
I mean, obviously, there's Terror probably potentially has a little bit more play now with leadership, but yeah. I guess we'll see. What's your favourite parts, guys? Just quickly wrap up this one. Is there anything about the combat? Is it just that they kept it most the same, or was there anything? And I don't know if it's fully in this section, but it definitely talks about it. Is in the terrain where even if you can't fully align, you still get to fight and stuff, and you just get disrupted, and then whatever the other word is. Is it disrupted?
Disordered?
Disordered or whatever.
Disordered, yeah.
It's hard to remember which one's which.
But I don't know. I feel like it's a little bit more give in the sense that they want you to get in combat, and it's less of this. Oh no, you're out by this tiny little amount, or this thing's clipped, and so therefore you can't get in. I sort of like that they've gone, nah, even if you can't and they can't pivot and you can't close the door, then you can still fight across the gap, but you just don't. Yeah, no initiative, no ranks, stuff like that. I thought that's just a good little change that makes it that you just don't get stuck in some weird place where you just can't get into combat, even though in reality they would be able to fight. They're not just going to stand there and go, oh, there's a side of a building next to me that I can't pivot around, it's just, yeah. So I like that. Just opens it up a bit.
Yeah. I think the Disordered's great too, particularly the interaction with the terrain for the game. So I think a lot of people have been a bit cautious about using dangerous terrain in their designating what their terrain is at events. Like, I know I have, and I know this one I'll be definitely doing a lot more. No, it's dangerous. Just it gives that angle of makes a bit more of a point about your unit types. Open order versus closed order. there's a bit more of a point to having the open order trips run. Like, oh, we're going to hang out in the wood, and you're going to come in here with your close order guys, well, you're going to have some problems. Things like that sort of provides a bit of a point to those designations and things. So,
and just the charging.
another
I know it's
variable
not
there.
this section, but the charging, like taking the lowest dice and stuff, it can be massively beneficial to just hang out in a forest, and all close to it and stuff. I think it's good.
I mean, and eighth terrain had barely any impact on the game at all, really.
Yeah.
I mean, what was it? A dangerous terrain test rolling a 1. That was it. Like that was, it was all a bit silly, really. So I'm really liking the terrain's impact on the game is really good for combat, and the whole disordered thing and things like that is definitely gets you thinking a bit more.
Yeah.
Feels more like a proper grown up war game.
Yeah.
Did you have any, Andrew?
Just a quick one. I just like Overkill for +5 as my fave. I do like the bigger overkills compared to some of the other. Just if somebody feeds your champ to your dragon, kind of sucks. Where if you don't get enough overkill, you lose combat, possibly run away. Whilst I'd like to think in real life, a dragon's not just going to
pulverizing that dude.
Yeah, pulverize one person and then run off. But
was it? I can't remember. Was it less than 5 in other editions? I can't remember. I know it was 5 in 8th.
I thought it was 5.
I thought it was 3.
I think there might have been one that was
9th
3,
age
but I can't
was
remember.
3.
Oh,
Yeah, maybe it was 9th.
Maybe it was 9th. Yeah.
There's an interesting
I remember that one of them
combination
had 3.
that they reduced the static combat res of the big blocks essentially by taking that third static rank bonus off. Because this close order dragon, it's still got the +1.
Yeah.
So you're closer anyway. So being able to get to 5 with your challenge means that you can usually win the combat. If you can do 5 overkill.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Andrew's ones of static combat res of 7. He can always.
Oh well, yeah. I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about that specific. That's crazy. Oh yeah.
Cool.
7.
Anyway, what should we do? Anyone else want to mention anything else about the old world? Or Ben, you want to do any more shout outs for BelCon, or apart from that? Otherwise, I can wrap up today's show. But yeah,
sure. Yeah, look. So in the Canberra community, where there is the Canberra, the Old World, and Warhammer Fantasy Facebook group, which is one way you can interact with a lot of the ACT people. There's quite a lot of people not from Canberra who get in on that too, which is all cool too. Probably because a lot of the guys have had stuff to do with CanCon in the past and all that sort of stuff, but also people from around the ACT in the region beyond the ACT. So that's Canberra, the Old World, and Warhammer Fantasy page to check out, and that lists a lot of our events. And there, like I was saying, we've got a very vibrant community. I think we've got over 305 on the group, and there are events almost. We're probably averaging once a fortnight. I think since the start, there's been a lot of things going on in the ACT, which is great. So quite healthy, despite what we're talking about in terms of the game being a bit of a mixed bag of plenty of positives and some negatives. So check that out. And look, we might still have some tickets going for Bel Con2, and we might get some more. It kind of again depends on me haranguing some people for some terrain. I think by then, once we start getting over 20, because that's a bit more than I want to drag out. But we'll go from there. But if you're looking for tickets there, if you go to Olympian Games, they're pretty easy to find. It's a small Canberra game store, and you just type in Bel Con into your search, and that'll come up with the tickets there, which would be it. But
put that in the show notes
other than that, look. Other than that, look, we put on events through Northside, Canberra Northside Wargamers every quarter. We have monthly meets, and there are lots of things going on. I can't but recommend to other supporters of this wonderful show to go and organise something. Like go and talk to a local game store and just run. I mean, I'm running a 500 point thing. I'll let you guys know how it goes. I think we need to do a bit of that while we're waiting around for all the new releases and things like that. Otherwise, I think the game is going to yeah, people are just going to probably give up on it and go and play other things, I guess, unless people are organising
that's
events to
worry,
keep
yeah.
something alive,
Nah,
which,
really good point.
I don't think that'll happen because we managed to keep it alive under 6, I guess. So, so yeah.
Well, let's not, mate.
But,
Let's not even try it. Let's
yeah.
just keep it going. Exactly.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But look, thank you
well,
so much for the chat, guys.
yeah.
And I've had the flu, so I'm not as perky as I would normally be. But I've really enjoyed the conversation and really appreciate coming on and that you guys are putting this wonderful little medium out for us to engage with other people in our little community. So it's awesome.
No,
So people should
appreciate it.
definitely
I
subscribe.
appreciate you.
Yeah,
Coming
cheers,
on,
coming on.
and
Nice.
it's always we love chatting to the people who are actually doing the work at the fire, so to, or the cold face, so to
Yeah,
speak. It's really good. So, and looking forward to getting down there and braving the cold
Yeah,
next
yeah.
week and come down. Yeah, if you need scenery, if that happens, man, just let us know. We can bring some.
Yeah, no worries.
It's not an issue. Outside of that, guys, I'll wrap up the show, though. So, all listeners, thanks for listening to another Old World Fanatics episode. Obviously, I'll put some stuff in the show notes from Ben and Bel Con. So, just have a look. If you didn't get your answers from the episode, just go check out those links. If you enjoy our weekly ramblings, please leave us a 5-star review or hit the like and subscribe on YouTube. And again, you can find us on all the socials. Just search Old World Fanatics. And if you're interested in becoming a Patreon, just on patreon.com/oldworldfanatics. We really appreciate that support as well. So until next time, guys, we'll see you next time and hope you enjoyed another episode of Old World Fanatics. See you next week, Ben.
Thanks, fellas. Great to see you. See you very soon. We'll have a beer.